What's going down, DGens? Back again after a good week, which is always nice. I mean, and honestly, we really haven't had too many bad weeks. I think we may have had two that were, losing weeks when it comes to straight picks. But 2 out of 14 is not bad at all. So we'll update those numbers, go over last week's results, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we're going to get into the picks for this week. If you are just here for the picks this week and you don't give a shit about why I'm picking what I pick, they're right there in front of you. Have fun with it. Get the fuck out. Whatever you're going to do. If you want to hear why, stay tuned. So, going back to week 14, the purple pick, we move forward to 3-0 with the purple pick, which is great. Vikings at Raiders under 41. Now, when I say the purple pick hits, the 3 times it hit, there was one game that we were kind of sweating towards the very end, and it was really more of like a backdoor cover that we were worried about. But this thing has hit relatively easily every single time. This one, no different. We got the under 41. The game ends at 3 whopping points. Wonderful. Not sweating at all. Didn't have to worry about, dropping my balls in the toilet or whatever. There was no anticipation or excitement with this one, and that's fine. Just give me the money. I'm good with it. So we get that one. Absolutely right. There's not much else to say about that. Both those offenses were terrible. Josh Dobbs was trash. Raiders just could not do a damn thing. Jacobs gets hurt. We'll talk about that moving forward for next week. But also we had Bucks Falcons over 37. This was our quote-unquote life changer. That's what I'm calling them now. Certain criteria. If you heard the beginning of the summer or beginning of the season when I talked about these, I let everybody know there was going to be a handful of these plays, probably about 6 of them or so, anywhere from 5 to 8 on a regular average NFL season, where we get to see this kind of thing, where it meets the right criteria and stipulations for me to go well above and beyond. I'm pretty much a 1-unit player all the time on everything that I like, except for these, because the hit rate is so high. It's a 90% hit rate for my particular schematics or whatever you want to call them. We so far have gone, I believe, 4-1 with those this year. And the one that I did lose, I didn't even put it on here. It was a Twitter play. But either way, also hitting pretty well on that. Game ends up flying over. I believe the final score was 54 points. So looked a little sweaty going into the end of the third quarter. And then beginning of the fourth, it's neither defense could stop anything. Offenses actually wanted to play, so that was good. Bears +3 and the Bears money line. We had both of those. We had a quarter unit on the money line, 3/4 of a unit on the Bears +3. We win both of them. I'm going to just grade it as a 1-unit play, so I'll just give myself credit for the 1 unit. But hopefully you had, again, at least a little bit on the money line because it paid out pretty nicely. I believe it was about 155 when I got it, or 160. So either way, got a little bit over there. So we got 3-0 again with the straight pick, so that's always good. Good week there. The teasers, again, have been my Achilles heel this entire damn season, and I'm just not going to really do it much, if any, moving forward. Either way. So we had the Steelers money line with the Steelers under 37, and literally neither of those sides hit. Steelers lost, and the over hit. So, yeah, it sucks. But either way, we go 3-0 with the straight picks. We actually move to 35-16 on the year with the straight picks. 6-8 now. I have not updated that with the teasers, but again, probably not putting too many teasers out here unless there's something that's really juicy that comes up. But at 35-16, we have officially gone up 17 units, which, again, I don't know who you're listening to out there. I know some guys put out fucking 50 plays a weekend. Great. If you want to do that, by all means, go ahead and do that. It's not the way I play. So at the beginning of the year, the very first week of the season, I put out 9 different plays. I believe that week we went 6-3. But either way, let's just say you started off with the $900 to put everything in there, and basis obviously on your unit size. I'm just using $100 to keep it easy. So if you started off with $900, you've made $1,700 playing these plays, which means you're all the way up to about $2,600 at this point. Not to say that you can retire, but that's a pretty damn good return. I don't know how much more you're going to get unless you just, you're a fantastic stock picker. I don't know too many investments that are going to be much better than that, especially for the amount of effort you have to put in this. I'm giving you the play. Just put it in there, get your money out. It's that damn easy. So, anyways, let's get into the plays for this week, week 15. Again, have 3 plays. The first 2 I really, really like. The third one is the one that I like it. I do. Obviously, it's in here, and there's a couple things pointing. Actually, everything is pointing towards the right side. It just feels a little sticky, a little gross, but we'll talk about it. So Panthers and Falcons over 35, again, qualifies for a life changer. No, not all of these are going to involve the Panthers, but just over 35 points. These teams already played once. The first time around, they actually scored 34 points. Now, keep in mind, that was the first week of the season. That was Bryce Young's very first start ever. Not to say that he's looked much better since then, but you got to assume that there's been some improvement. The guy's been playing for, 14 weeks now in the NFL. Some sort of adjustment. Also, the Falcons at that time, I even had notes on it, just saying how run-heavy they were and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, they still are a very run-heavy team. But they at least have shown some spark lately. And now that we're further into the season, one thing I have noticed just in general is that there's been a change from the unders that were just crushing the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season to slowly but surely moving more and more to the overs. Actually, as of week, I believe it was 13, that we started seeing these big changes where it was 9-5 or 10-4 to the over instead of the under. I don't really hear too many people talking about it, but it's just something I wanted to let you guys know. Last week actually was still an under week. I believe the final was something like 8-7 for the unders. It was 15 games, so yeah, 8-7 for the under. So not huge, pretty down the middle. At the beginning of the season, the unders were just railing everybody. It was 13-3 to the under, 10-6 to the under, something like that. So we are starting to see this flip. Some of that is the teams just, getting better, knowing their players better, knowing their competition better, all that kind of stuff, using more analytics. But some of it is also defenses getting hurt, defenses getting banged up, defenses being tired. And then lastly, you have a lot of teams that actually see the playoffs in sight. They see the light at the end of the tunnel. They know what they got to do. They know this is no longer just like a regular exhibition kind of game. These guys know that they need to put in their best effort. They need to get the win, and they know that they have a certain route that they need to go to get where they want to be. The Falcons are one of those teams. The Falcons are in second place right now in the NFC South. They are within pissing distance of the Buccaneers, so they know what they got to do. They lost the game to the Buccaneers, so they understand that they are a game behind, but there's obviously a route for them to win. They just have to win these games. So I don't think you're going to see this super ultra conservative, let's just run, and then we'll try to win at the last minute kind of Falcons team. I think you've already started to see that they are more prone to scoring now, especially early in the game, where they can build a lead and feel comfortable on something instead of just, let's just play for the last minute and hopefully we can squeak it out. No, they're actually trying to put up points now. Not to say that they're going to put up 50 or anything, but if they get to 25, 27, 28 points, this should be a cover, obviously. And even if they don't, I think because I have them marked at about 17 points, 17 to 20, not to say that they won't go over, because I actually do believe that they're going to go over within a standard deviation, which means they'll probably get 24 points. If we can just get the Panthers to at least somewhat keep this competitive, give us 14 points, a 21-14 kind of game, a 21-13 kind of game, something like that. 24-13 gets us the over. That's all we need. We're not asking them to, put up 70. So that's the over for the week. Cowboys at the Bills. Bills minus 2.5. This is one play I love. This is something that, again, not a lot of people were talking about. It's a trend that I've been following, but I really have not heard a lot, if anybody. I don't think I've heard anybody mention this trend before. If you haven't heard these videos before, one trend that's going around out there, and it's been out there for the last, at least 3 years or so since I've heard it and it's really come to light, was a 3 away game stretches. Right, where a team is gone for 3 weeks straight, they're constantly playing away. Usually in that instance, those teams are more prone to dropping games, but the first game, they usually win or at least cover, and then the second one is usually the one that they don't cover because they've been away, it's already kind of starting to fade as far as their, concentration. And the third game is sort of a 50-50 game, but it does tend to have the team that's been traveling for 3 weeks drop that game as well, or at least not cover that game. Same thing, just kind of a lack of attention. You've been away from home, you've been having to constantly move and travel, and it takes away prep time and all that kind of stuff. So that makes sense. But you don't hear a lot of the 3-game homestands. I really don't hear anybody talk about that, and I've been tracking it this week or this year. One thing that I've noticed is that the 3 games at home, for the most part, it's going to be very indicative of the team. So if it's a really good team, they're probably going to go 3-0, and they may even cover all 3 games. And so some of the teams that we've seen do that this year were the Cowboys, who just finished theirs. They went 3-0, and they went 3-0 against the spread. We saw the 49ers go 3-0 early in the season from weeks 3 through 5. And then we also saw the Ravens. Now, the Ravens went 2-1, but they did something that threw off the rest of it here. So the most of the other teams, because I believe there's about 8 of them that had these 3-game homestands this year, pretty much all went 2-1. I believe the Jets are the only one that went like 1-2 or something like that. But either way, again, that the 3 games they actually play at home is just very indicative of the team. If it's a good team, they'll do well. If it's a bad team, they're probably going to do bad. It's not going to really help them much, if any. Where it does come into play is the game after they leave. So when they leave, so they have the 3 games at home, the first game away has just been a really bad spot for these guys. Now, I could sit here and try to explain it to you, but I'll be honest with you, anything I give you is going to be pretty much just, speculation. But thinking of it from the personal angle, I mean, you have somebody who's been at home for 3 weeks, taking care of daddy duties or, husband duties or going out or whatever. You get into your routine of working out, go to work, come home, make sure you get your stuff in, get your training in, get your prep time in, all that kind of stuff. The first time away from home after that can be a little jarring, right? Because you have to, not only are you now adjusting for less prep time because you got to travel, but now you have to put your game plan in a little bit earlier. You got to leave a little bit earlier. You got to do your walkthroughs a little bit earlier. And then as far as like your home life stuff goes, and some of you may think this is total bullshit, but I'm just saying, as far as like a human goes, right? If you're asked to travel for work, what comes up? Those of you that are out there that are married or have kids, the wife is like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And are you going to show up to that? And how are you going to do this? And what's going on? And what about when? And then you have the kids that are, well, I need you here. And will you help me with this? And can you help me with that? Are you going to buy me this? Are you going to bring me that? It's a whole thing. And so these guys they're still human. They still have other shit going on. They're not playing football 24/7. So a lot of that stuff I think does come into play, and it just kind of, again, takes away from the concentration, for the week. And especially this time of the year, you're going to get everybody's best shot, especially when it comes to a team who's still playing for something. So the Cowboys, like I just said, are finished their 3-game homestand. They are traveling to the Buffalo. This is also going to go from outdoors to indoors. This is also a split from the Cowboys doing so great and wonderful at home to not being so hot at, away. All of that stuff comes into play. Give me the Bills minus 2.5. Really love that play. Really love that spot. The Cowboys don't necessarily need to win this game. They really have, a snowball's chance in the microwave at getting the first seed overall, right? Of getting that bye week. I mean, yeah, obviously they would love to host a game, but realistically, the odds are very, very stacked against them. They play the Bills and they're also playing the Dolphins, whereas the Eagles have like the Giants twice, Washington, and I think the Cardinals. I mean, it's the Eagles should get that better spot in the playoffs, and the Cowboys, for all intents and purposes, are pretty much already in the playoffs. They haven't officially clinched it, but I mean, unless they lose out, they're essentially in. So give me the Bills minus 2.5. The Bills are a team who need to, maybe don't necessarily need, right? It's not a playoff game yet, but they would really, really greatly benefit from winning this game. Cardinals plus 14. This is the one that just feels a little slimy, a little gross. Cardinals plus 14. So one thing that I do like to touch on is rest advantages. And actually, the rest advantage angle has been really, really good so far. If we take a look at who's played so far, I believe it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 7-1 since week 13. And week 13 is important because that is the week that we traditionally see the rest advantage become more and more of an issue And when I say rest advantage, I'm talking about at least 3 days. So if your team is playing with 3 or more days of a rest advantage, you cover the spread over 55% of the time. And that's not just from this year or last year or whatever. This is going back the last 10 plus seasons. So it's a big trend. It's been going on. Again, I don't hear a lot of talk about it. I've heard maybe like 2 people mention it. So just know that that's out there. And if you look at these, the teams that have won these games, and some of them now it seems like, oh yeah, of course. At the time, it didn't seem like that. Like the Packers played the Chiefs. Packers got the outright win. Back then, that they were, I believe, so it's 6-point dogs against the Chiefs. They get the win. The Lions played the Saints. The Lions got the win. The 49ers beat the Eagles handily. The Ravens beat the Rams. Now, they didn't cover, but they did win, and they won in overtime. The Bears beat the Lions. Again, another one where people would have just like, no, we're taking the Lions. The Lions were 4-point favorites, I believe, when that line opened. They closed at 3. People were jumping on the Bears, and they kind of knew what was going on. And we had the Bears, obviously. The Bears get the win. The Cowboys had the advantage over the Eagles. They got the win, and again, they win pretty handily. And then the Giants and the Packers, which is, again, another rest advantage spot. The Giants win that game. That's another one where people would have told you, like, no, there's no way the Packers are winning this game. People had that game on teasers, on Survival, or whatever. And it is just, this rest advantage thing is real, especially this time of the season. The only loss we had this was the Seahawks to the 49ers. Now, they lost. Now, they could have covered, depending on what line you got, but they did outright lose. And again, the 49ers are just a much better team than the Seahawks from, top to bottom. So the next 2 games that are going to be in this lineup, and really I'm going to just give you all 4 in case you want to pick one of these, in case I can maybe push you into a side. So the one that I'm going with is the Cardinals because they're coming off of a bye week, so they have the biggest, rest advantage. They're playing the 49ers, which is a divisional team. Traditionally, the Cardinals do give the 49ers issues. And with Kyler Murray being as healthy as he is now, I think that great pass rush of the 49ers is going to somewhat get negated just by the fact that he can get out of a lot of that. And because they have not had a whole lot of tape on Kyler working with this new coach, especially coming out of a bye week, I don't think the 49ers are entirely prepared for what they're going to see this week. It's going to be something that's different. It's going to be some wrinkles to the offense and the defense, and I would not be surprised to see the Cardinals make this a really close game. So giving the Cardinals plus the 14, but in case you want to look at these and maybe you have another lean that you're on and I can push you into that side, the teams that are going to have the rest advantage this week are the Cardinals, the Patriots versus the Chiefs, the Steelers versus the Colts, and Washington versus the Rams. I really, really do like the Patriots angle. The Steelers angle. The Steelers are playing this week with the rest advantage, but more importantly, last week, Mitch Trubisky came in off a short week. They asked this guy, not a brand new quarterback, but a quarterback that they weren't expecting to play, to get ready in 4 days and change up the game plan, change up the play calling, and they literally had to do a lot of that and kind of adjust on the fly in the game, and you could see it like in the second quarter. You could see them make tweaks and adjustments to where he wanted to go with the ball, what kind of routes they were going to give him, all that kind of stuff in game, and so that put them in a really bad spot against a decent defense in the Patriots. This week, they have the extended time frame. They should have him ready. They should get him ready to go. TJ Watt should be okay and cleared to play, assuming he's out of concussion protocol. The defense should be healthy and ready to rock. And the Colts are going to come in with the disadvantage. So I really like that Steelers play if you're on that. I have not made it official yet, but I would not be surprised if I do get there. So that's some of the rest advantage spots. Lastly, we have the 3-game homestand. Just to let you know, so again, 49ers went 3-0, immediately lost when they traveled. Browns went 2-1 straight up, 1-2 against the spread. They lost immediately when they traveled away. The Rams from weeks 5 through 7, they went 1-2 at home. They lost immediately to the Eagles when they traveled. Steelers went 2-1. They lost immediately. And now this was a big one because I was thinking, maybe they could beat or kind of break that trend because they were going to be playing against a Browns team with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, right? As when Deshaun Watson got hurt. Nope, they could not beat the trend. They did immediately lose when they traveled away. The Ravens were 2-1 at home, but they were the only team so far that has won the game after traveling away. So maybe it was that loss that kind of made them, snap into it a little bit. But either way, they won when they finally did get on the road. Texans were 2-1. You just saw this last week. They got their ass handed to them by the Jets the first game out, right? And so some of that was obviously injury related, but either way, they still lose immediately when they travel. The Jets went 0-2. So 1-2 because I didn't count for last week yet. But obviously they are also gonna be having their first away game here, so we can look to fade the Jets as well. But either way, that's the rationale, the reasoning, all that kind of stuff, as well as the plays, guys. So hopefully you are going to be following me with these, and hopefully you have saw something that you like yourself. There's no purple play for this week because the purple play would have been the Colts versus the Steelers, and obviously I like the Steelers in this one, so we do have to use some of these trends kind of against each other, so we're not going to take that purple pick for the week. If you want to stay off of that as well, just to let you know, my predictions as far as algorithm is concerned, just straight numbers, do have the Colts winning that game. They actually have the Colts winning by about 6 to 7 points. Like I said, I don't trust it because I think this trend of rest advantage late in the season is going to trump just the straight algorithm numbers because those numbers don't take into account the rest advantage. So that being said, or the Mitch Trubisky time to prepare advantage. So anyways, guys, that's it for today. Hopefully you have made some money this year. Take some of it out. Shit, if you're up 17 units, take 7 of them out. Fucking pay for Christmas. Go buy some nice shit. Get the hell out of here. Have fun. Have a good time. Have a good weekend. Everybody win some money. And I'll speak with you.